just read the chat window. This video is sponsored by Argus Lenses. That's why it took so long to get going. Welcome to the live stream by the Georgia photographer. And the comedy of errors associated with such a thing. How you guys doing tonight? Let's pop out the chat. Take it over to the other screen. There we go. Now let's drop this in here. Just confirm it's still flowing. Yes, it is flowing. All right. Sorry about that, y'all. The comedy of errors. It's a long story, but we're here. All right. I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit before we got into the photos that you guys submitted this week about somewhat about my photo in particular, but about some current events too, and some of the things I've been seeing here lately on YouTube about the photography space. I'm not going to get into the whole America literally on fire, America, the dumpster fire that we're living in right now. That's talked about plenty enough. But in the photography space, there's some pretty interesting things been coming up here lately. One of which I watched a little bit of Jay Christina's video this morning. He's talking about a patent that Apple just received, and it's about computational photography of group photos and video. They didn't leave out the video option of it. So you got now it's actually going to allow you to do a composite of a bunch of portrait photos. If you use the portrait mode on the camera and take a bunch of the portraits, it's going to composite them together and actually stack them to where it looks like you've put them together in a group photo. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible, but that would take some heavy hitter computing software. And I really think it's going to take more than what this little handheld computer's got inside of it to work that out. I don't know if you have to upload those images to the cloud and then it crunches the numbers with cloud computing and then downloads it back to your device. But it was a pretty interesting patent. Now, are we to that point already? What do y'all think? Hi, Joy. Phil's here. You at work? Tech Assist is here from London. Nice. Let's see here. Dude, it's what, like 1 a.m. in London? 2 a.m., something like that? Dang. Thank you for joining. Let's see here. Yeah. Well, Texas said it's using other people's phones as well. From the way I understood it, it's kind of pulling up that whole, like you have a host device, and then all of the other phones capture the portrait and submit their images to that host device. And it sounded like it was going to be a pretty complicated process. And, what he's talking about, 2234. So, wow. I thought it would be later than that, which that's 5 hours from now. So, but excuse me, should have wore that mask longer. No, I'm just kidding, y'all. But it was a pretty interesting concept, and I thought, man, if they get that to work, I don't know that it would push portrait photographers out of business. I really think that that's going to always be a space, but it is a viable option for maybe families that are spread out across the country that want a family portrait. I mean, I can see the value in it. I've got families scattered all over the place, and it would be kind of nice to be able to put together a family portrait and composite it if it can do it well to where it looks like you were all together. And yeah, it would take a lot of computing power. I really believe, and what Jay was saying made a lot of sense. You gotta figure out white balance problems. If I took my photo under tungsten lights and then, my wife took her photo under daylight, 5,500 Kelvin lights, and, I'm yellow and she's blue casted, how's it going to fix all that? You know, it's got to color balance everything first, and it was going to be, there was a lot of problems to solve. That's a pretty bold step. Smoking mirrors to cell phones, daylight savings. Yeah, I think Neville from we got um, two Brits in here tonight. Nice. But yeah, I think it is a little bit of a gimmick, kind of like the portrait mode now in the iPhone. I never use it. Even with the updates, I just don't bother because it just looks fake where it tries to do the bokeh around something. If it ain't got a good clean hard edge, if there's a hairdo that's got some fur, you know, fuzzy hairs or whatever, it just looks weird. It don't look right, you know. And the only thing that can fix that is, you know, a good old lens on a camera that has a depth of field. And I think they're not to there yet. I mean, like I said, until they do depth mapping in the photo and it measures the distance to every pixel, you know, that's coming. Once they depth map the pixels and they know how far those pixels were from the camera, at that point, I believe they'll be able to do it. But until they can depth map, and they can technically with two cameras because the distance between them creates binocular vision and they can measure depth like that. But I think honestly, they'll probably put a scanning laser that'll scan the image in the same pixel ratio. That's the only way I think they'll ever get that to work. Phil's got the Tokine 11-16 for his DX. I bet that's on that XT3, ain't it? Any suggestions for a wide angle zoom for Nikon F mount? What is it? You got the 14-24 2.8, one of the Holy Trinity lenses. Then you can ask Phil. It's phenomenal. And then there's, what is it, a 16-35? Isn't that the other one that's a little more economical? I believe that one is a good lens too, but I ain't real sure. Take Assist says the Tamron G2 15-30 is a good lens as long as you don't need filters. Apparently, it bulbs out on the front enough that filters won't screw on it. Like kind of probably like the 14-24 does.
Yeah, you can still get for it.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, you can get one for it.
Is that the one you have?
Yep, that's the one.
That's a man. That's a bow hunking hunk of glass on the front of that lens. Yeah. Not yet on Fuji. Phil Thatch says, yeah, the thick 16-35 f4. That's a good lens from what I understand. And it'd probably be a lot more economical than the 14-24 2.8 too.
Yeah, as long as you're not doing astrophotography, you know, my lessons learned, you don't need an f2.8. You're just doing landscapes. Get something, you know, even though like that broken on 14 millimeter or something like that, you know, that's manual focus. I mean, I don't ever use, you know, autofocus 9% of the time when I'm using that stuff.
Right. Yeah. It's like, well, this lens, this is the 55 millimeter f3.5 micro Nikkor. This is the AI. This is it's not AIS. I started looking at those. I took my picture last night at f16. If anybody's wanting to know EXIF data, because it's still set on it from last night. I did my photo for my own live stream project last night. I think it turned out pretty cool. I was just experimenting. I was actually trying to, I'll explain when we get to my photo, I'll explain what I was trying to do. But yeah, I had a certain idea in mind, but I didn't have the setup correct. What I needed a legit snoot. Not when you'll see in my BTS photo the snoot that I was using. It's kind of comical, but I had this cool idea and I just didn't allow myself enough time to execute it properly. I think I could have made it work if I'd just spent more time on it. I was getting there. You'll see it in the photo. Let's see here. Texas said, yeah, that phone. I'm gonna jump back to a comment he made earlier about the phone technology thing. He said, yeah, but that phone will burn your hand while you're doing it because it's gonna have to compute so hard to generate that photo. That's a pretty good point. Let's see. They have a really. I'm kind of lost on the conversation here. I'm not keeping up real well. F28 good on live music, wide angles, full stage from the pit with the 14. Oh, because it's low light, so you get plenty of light. Yeah, yeah. See, y'all don't know it, but we got a published photographer in our midst. Phil Thatch got one of his photos from his rock and roll photography days published in a book about the photographer. And if you didn't watch his live stream last week, go watch his live stream and get him to tell that story in that live stream. He tells the story and it's interesting. It's worth watching. It's worth hearing the story because it's kind of cool. He shows the photo that they published with his permission. It's awesome. Is anyone using a Nikon 105 millimeter macro on the Z? No, I haven't used mine on mine yet. Let's see here. I've used my 60 millimeter a little bit, and I have used the 200 millimeter, but I haven't got my 105 out, which I've got a very early 105 millimeter. Mine's pre AI. It's it's old. It's still sharp, and you always stop your macro lenses down, so it doesn't matter what the wide open artifacts are because you're going to stop it down to f11 or f16 anyway. That's what I was doing with that 55 mil. It's razor sharp. So you can save a lot of money on a macro lens if you because typically with macro you manually focus and you stop it way down. So people complain a lot about autofocus problems out of macro, and they complain a lot or autofocus about the lens, the 105s or whatever, the earlier ones, and they complain about the like chromatic aberration at wide open aperture and things like that. But seriously, when you stop it down to f11, all that goes away. It doesn't matter. So don't don't get caught up in the hype. Think you got to buy the brand new 200 millimeter micro Nikkor to get good macro shots. When we did our macro shootout, some of them shots were taken with very inexpensive lenses, and they were beautiful photos. So yeah, don't get sold on the hype. Really, what do you use? Huh. We're having some troubles with our audio.
Right. Oh, 1 2 1 2. There we go.
Well done, Phil, superstar. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Let's try that. Yeah, there we go. Something with the noise gate. I've got a
What is
noise
focus
gate on the thing,
shifting?
and I got a noise gate on the thing, and it wasn't something going with the compression threshold was causing it not to work right.
Oh, okay. Is focus shifting like focus stacking? Is that what I'm talking about? What they're talking about?
You mean like tilt shifting?
No, they're saying um, Phil says he's using the 105 macro on the Z, and Tech says, does it do focus shifting?
I think it's focus stacking.
That's what I'm thinking. Tech assist. What do you mean? I'm not tracking. Yeah, see, Phil's got the newer autofocus 105. His ain't like my ancient one. He's much newer with his lens. Oh, okay. Phil explained it. Yeah, focus stacking. Okay. Um, I haven't tried that yet. I know that the XT3 will do um, where you can do the what's it called when you do multiple exposures at different exposure levels, multiple frames. bracketing. You can do focus bracketing. You can do all sorts of different bracketings in the XT3. Way more. I think focus is one of them. Let's see here. In drive mode. Yeah, bracketing. You got auto exposure bracketing, ISO bracketing, film simulation bracketing, white balance bracketing, and focus bracketing. Yeah. I thought that's pretty interesting, but I don't have but the one lens, which still would do what I want, especially a landscape. It'd work fine. But I haven't played with it. Phil says he already has a couple of videos about it. He's way ahead of me. Mike Mitchum knows because Phil has his old XT3. How about the XT4, Mike? Because Mike's got an XT4. He's ahead of us. He's ahead of the curve. He's got the new camera. Interesting. I've just done bracketing on exposure so far with mine. I really haven't explored those other bracketing modes. I guess I need to. They wouldn't put them in there if it wasn't valuable. Well, that's a good question. How many of y'all do use exposure bracketing for like saving the sky, saving the shadows in a landscape photo? Yeah.
I was doing focus. I did what was it? I did a stacked or bracketed pano when I did that rainbow shot.
Yeah. It looked good too.
That was a 9 shot picture, so it came out like 280 megapixels when I stitched it all together. Yeah, so that was a 3 shot. That was a 3 shot pano, but it was also a 3 exposure bracket for each section of the pano.
Uh-huh. On the 850?
On the 850, yeah.
Yeah. 280 megapixels. Woo. Heather made it. Mike says the Ibis is awesome and the large battery makes it really nice. Ah, you're killing me. What you need to be telling me is how the XT4 doesn't really bring anything to the table that the XT3 ain't already doing. You know, this is making it hard on me, right? Mike Mitchum said he used exposure bracketing on his sunrise shot at the beach. I have a chipped fingernail and it's bugging me to death, and I'm picking at it. Knife's coming out. I'll carve it off. Sorry guys, I got to deal with it. It's gonna drive me insane.
Now we're doing a little bit of country
surgery. There. Well, what's the right word?
I don't know. I'm at a loss for everything right now. Still kind of just brain dead today.
Oh, look, Take Assist says, Dave, you need another camera. Yeah. Oh, Lord, I need another camera like I need a hole in my head.
I need another lens.
Ooh, I've got 2 good cameras. And it's to the point that I don't know which one to get out and go shoot with. I like them both so well that it's a struggle to just pick one. I found there's functions on some, like I didn't bring the Z6 down with me tonight. The XT3 still has a sync cable port for a legit flash sync cable. The Z6 doesn't. I found that out yesterday. I was going to take the photo for tonight's challenge with the Z6. When I got it out, it didn't have a sync cable port. Kind of shocked me. I actually expected it to be there. I never read the book to see if it did or didn't. They've always had one. This 810's got one. The XT3's got one. I thought it had one. It don't. So I don't know how you would hardwire a flash into it. I'm gonna have to read in the book and see how that works. Surely there's one of those COM ports on it. It's got some little communication ports. One of them's USB-C, and then there's another little square one, I think, for a remote, and that may be where it goes. But I got to figure that out. I mean, it's either that or come up with a way of wirelessly triggering. And I'm just the reason I like a sync cable is it eliminates all those AA batteries in them little radios. And if you're just doing something like a product photography shot, a sync cable just works. And it's your camera is close enough to the object that you just don't need to mess with the whole radio thing. And it makes it simpler, you know.
You know, you haven't really explored all the Godox stuff yet, have you?
Well, yeah, you got to put batteries in every one of them just to be able to take a photo.
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, so like you take the speed light so if you get like one of the main transmitters, okay. So if you got the main transmitter, it talks to all the Godox stuff, and you know they talk to each other. They're all on the same frequency space, and then like if you get the speed light, it's got a lithium-ion battery built into it, so you're done with that. The only thing that you have to put a battery in is a transmitter. Your like your 8200 or you know compatible Godox speed light. Nah, they don't. You know they have the lithium-ion packs on there.
Yeah, and that's convenient. And I got it, and I'm gonna have to give some kudos to Nikon. I did my little photo project last Saturday night that I was putting together this whole flash setup for, and I put a set of AA batteries in the SB700, and then charged up the lithium-ion pack for the AD200 Pro thing, and proceeded to take over 700 photos that night, and neither one of them give a minute's trouble. Now I'm not running full power, so I don't know how many photos you could get. You know, I think I'm running 1/16 power on the SB700 and like 1/128th power on the AD200. And seriously, we're photographing books. Okay, they're old log books or data books, and they were written in pencil, and the pencil's starting to fade. So we're trying to capture that information and then, you know, up the contrast and clarity to bring the data back, and then save that and print it in photo books to create newer books so we don't have to get the old ones out. Okay. There's everybody. Wave at them.
I can't see.
They're right here. See all the people? This is where they're talking.
Oh, I want you to.
All right. Well, be careful. I'm back. Woody Mallory says Aaron's volume seems to be a little low. That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm sitting here trying to triage a bunch of audio problems while we're doing the show.
Yeah. You brought it up some, I noticed. Hey, Arib Iqbal. I think I'm pronouncing it right. Thank you for joining the stream. Appreciate you coming by. And thank you for the subscription. Really appreciate that. Yeah, we're going to be going over photos in a minute. Every week we have a little photo project that we work on, or every live stream. We're doing the live streams every 2 weeks now, and you got 2 weeks to get your photo figured out and photographed. And this week's was artificial light. So we're going to get into those photos in just a minute. As soon as Aaron gives me the green light and says he's ready to roll with the photos.
Oh yeah, we can roll. We can roll with the photos, no problem.
Okay, and I was making sure you was already on the backside before I throwed you to the wolves.
No,
Thank you.
I just
appreciate it.
I've got we've had like updates to OBS, and then we had updates to Windows, and everything's all.
Is that why you had to restart your computer?
I did. Well, no, I had to restart my computer because I plugged in my camera, and my camera says, "Oh, you need to restart your computer for this to work." I'm like, going, "What?" So out of all the the Windows updates, and you never know what Windows is going to mess up nowadays when they shoot out a patch. I was like, okay, let me reboot the computer.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd rather have the computer, like, especially when it comes to streaming. I always pop it up. I always come up fresh. Make sure everything. This is from doing years of DJing and broadcasting. So always make sure your streaming device is in a fresh state. If it's been
Yeah.
on for a week, you're asking for a problem or something's going to happen.
Oh yeah, it's just not going to work like you want it to.
No, something will happen. Something will break. Just always reboot. Do it fresh before a stream.
Look what Woody said. Oops, I forgot to send some in. Well, if you're ready, Aaron, bring the panel up. We'll go over the photos. He's operating in Lightroom, so he's balancing out the image and getting things all squared away on that.
Oh yeah, there you go. There's pretty pictures in Lightroom.
Yeah, check out. I love it's an abstract. I really like it because I did a couple of abstracts with the flash, playing with it, because I had kind of the same thought process, and I thought, let's just see what it looks like, and this is awesome. This is something that I could see in an art gallery. Give me the name. Aaron?
Well, the name, like, you can't see it. Oh, it's John Van Veen.
Okay, thank you. No, I can't see him. I'm not running full screen. All right, John, let's see. Nope, that's the second one from John. Missed it. I was saying if he had there it is. Art light. Taken at one of those indoor Christmas light shows. So this is shot with an old M42 mount Vivitar 28 millimeter f2.5 shot wide open. It's kind of a tunnel with lights all above you, shot out of focus for effect. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. What's the next one?
Next, another John Van Veen.
Yeah, he explained that too. Here it is. Says sorry, not always able to attend because of time zones and such. That's cool, but no, he didn't. He's more talking about not being able to join the stream. He just says screwdriver shot for effect. It's a pretty cool. I like the orange and blue, and he's got an 8-bladed aperture lens he's shooting it with. I wonder if it's the same lens. Does it have EXIF data?
No, that's it. Just says 1/4 of a second ISO 100. Some of the
I bet it is the same lens because it was a vintage lens. It's a good looking photo.
What's for all you guys that use like all these weird lenses like myself, there's if you use Lightroom, there's a plugin called Lens Tagger that if you want to put metadata in there for your old vintage lenses that have no EXIF data attached to them, you can manually punch it in there and it'll write that info to the file for you.
That's good data because I don't normally have EXIF data for my lens. It'll just show shutter speed and ISO. Let's see the next one. Oh, this is Phil's. Let's see. Phil was the first person to turn in a photo. He says, using Gary Arbuckle's idea of pressing the test button on my SB700, I made a single exposure, non-composite ghostly shot of my daughter. I used my tripod mounted Nikon Z6 and 24-70 f2.8. He ran 100 ISO, 44 millimeters, f11, 15 seconds. Handheld and umbrella flash fired twice at full power from different locations. Oh, that's how he exposed the chair. He just opened the shutter, hit her with the test button. She gets out of the chair and he flashes the chair twice to illuminate the chair. Pretty cool shot. Me and Sierra did something similar to this, except we used the sun when we were on our trip out west. And if I ever get an opportunity to remember, I'll grab that photo of them. I can just hold them up for the camera. Digging up the originals would take me much longer. But we were in Salt Lake City at our B&B, and there was sunlight spilling through this little garden in the front of the B&B, and we were just killing time waiting on our dinner reservation or something. And me and Sierra set the camera up on tripod, put a bunch of ND filters on it in the middle of the day, and had like 10-second exposures. And we'd open the shutter and count to like 3 or 4, and then get up and walk out of the frame, and it made these really ghostly images, looked like a lot like that, except for we was missing sections because whatever was shaded wouldn't show up. But I like this. That's pretty neat. Let's see what's next.
George Nagata.
Yeah. Now he did 2 photos of this location. Let's see here. That's the one with the car.
That one, the one without the car?
Well, there's both. But and let me see. A long car parked under LED street lights. Says not a fan of these lights versus the old sodium. The light beams straight down, but not around. It doesn't. Basically, the light doesn't spill as well as the old sodium vapor did. So it is well lit under the light, but kind of dark in between them. And then see, it also included a photo of that section of the street under the car, but with no car. So you can see what it would look like with and without the car. And he's trying to let you understand how poorly the LED streetlights illuminate the scene and why he likes the sodium vapor better. And it does. It generates a different effect. I got to give him credit for where that's at. He was at 1/2 second exposure f8 ISO 400 with his Nikon D500 and a 50mm f1.4 AIS. So he was probably manual focusing. No, he absolutely was manual focusing. That's not an autofocus lens. Yeah. That's interesting to see how much more it brings to the photo to add the car. That's following my adage of to make a photo more interesting, stir in a human. What you got?
Happy birthday to you.
Who brought that one in?
Mike Mitchum.
Mike Mitchum. Some of these I remember better than others because some of them came at different times of the day and I was able to see them when I downloaded. Wow. He's not happy with the photo, just to tell you the truth. He says this effort was a failure. Finally remembered this flashing happy birthday display we have. Placed it on a mirror, and this is a 1.5 second exposure with his XT4. I don't see why it's a failure when it looks really good. I think it's a kind of a neat picture. Not sure. He was looking for something that didn't show up, basically. I think that's what he means by his point. Let's see here. I'd like it. I think it looks good. Nice reflection. That's what Phil says. And I agree. It's a cool photo. Phil, you didn't tell us you had twins. I'm reading back through the chat. I've been a little bit lax on that. All right. Well, let's see the next one. This looks like something Ray Soldano would submit.
It's TV Smith.
Ah. Ray's normally about a good glass of whiskey and a cigar or something. Let's see here. Oh, I went back too far for TV. I've got the one from last week.
D8 750 with a 50mm f1.8.
Yes. He said he used a black blanket as his background and 2 photographic lamps. It's actually a beautifully well lit photo. And I like Macanudo cigars, by the way. They're very good. Oh, he got that's the little ones. Not sure what this other is. This cheese? DuPont Plainview. I don't know what those are in that box. That's Domino's, isn't it? Yeah, I think that's a box of Domino's. Isn't that cool?
Well, cigars, some rum. Yeah, that could be
Game
a
of
good Domino's
Domino's.
night.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun. Now you got me wanting to play Domino's. I like it. Yeah.
Bacardi starting to make what is that? I didn't know. Is Bacardi making stuff in Cuba now?
You got me. I don't know. I haven't bought a bottle of liquor in 25 years. Maybe longer. I really don't remember. We literally had a bottle of it's Captain Morgan's like select rum, and we used it for cough syrup. And it was a partial bottle that my best friend was in the Navy about 8 years ago, and he was shipping out to Japan, maybe 10 years now. And he gave it to me. He said, you know, we're going to have to throw all this away. He had a whole bunch of liquor because he's in the military. I guess that's something they do. So I brought it home and literally threw it away the other day when we got the new refrigerator because it stayed in that cabinet up above it. Like I said, we used it for cough syrup. It worked really good for that. And it tastes good, so you don't mind like drinking it. Like, you know, some liquor just tastes terrible, but man, it'll calm your throat down if you've got a real bad cough. Well, it sat so long, it's got a real wooden cork. The cork rotted and broke in two, and you couldn't open it without like digging that wood out of it. So we just threw it in the garbage. So the cork. Oh, okay. Castor oil is better cough syrup. Yeah, but it's also a really good laxative. Bass Angler says, with that picture here that TV sent, he says, I see jail and waking up saying I did really do that. Oh, he's done got in trouble. Well, hello, Peter. Thank you for joining in. Let's see. Who is this? Yeah, that's what I was seeing. Let's see. Photo one is one of those things that fall from a tree that is super pokey. Yep. Yes. Since light source from a cell phone, from lit from below. Photo number 2 is a camera, and he's got a BTS photo of the camera. But yeah, that's a sweet gumball. Yeah. I actually got some gels the other day for a softbox, big enough to cover a softbox, so we could do the Sierra wants to do portraits like you see them do with the blue and the red gels from 2 different sides. Yeah. But yeah, check that out. Yeah. Ray sets up some complicated um, setups to get his photos, you know. But what's interesting is that it's not like overly complicated. You see, he's got a lamp with a red bulb in it. He's got a reflector to kick the light back. He's got a little LED panel down here in the floor. He's got him a black cloth under it, and then he's using a briefcase as a backdrop that has a texture for a textured backdrop. You know, it's working within the bounds of the equipment you have to produce an exquisite photo. Go back to the photo he took with it. See, it's an interesting photo. And if you hadn't seen the BTS photo, you would think it was in some kind of real expensive studio. That's an awesome photo. Awesome. Okay. What's next?
Be you.
Oh. Oh, look. Okay. Um See you later, Woody. Oh, you zoomed in on it. Yeah, that's full resolution off the XT3. That's a full 26 megapixel image. But as you can see, if you'll notice the name of some of the countries, scroll up a little bit. No, down. I'm bad. My bad. My bad. Right there. See, it says Rhodesia. This is a very old globe.
Mozambique.
Let's see here. There. Got it. Oh. Wait a minute. I got to fix a problem. There. Oh, yeah. Phil just kicked in and said, David, you have to look at the lens on Ray's D850. So can we bounce back to that photo of the BTS photo right quick?
Yep.
No, the behind the scenes version.
I lost it. Hold on a minute.
Should be the next one back.
That one.
There it is. Zoom in on the taking camera.
Far as I can go.
Oh, does it say it in the exit data?
Nope.
Oh, he's saying that he thinks that's the Woodpile lens. If you've seen all of my videos about lens reviews, you'll know that I think it's is it the 36 to 85 or 46 to 86? You know, there's that weird focus range Nikon lens. Then I was standing out back at a scrap wood pile, and I just throw it over my shoulder and tell him that's where the lens needs to go. I think that's what he's referring to. I think the camera being photographed is the one you need. Oh no. All right. Here's the behind the scenes of my globe photo. And what I was doing was I was using a roll of paper towels as a snoot on the AD200. And you can see I've got the camera real close. I had backed it up. When I actually took the photo that you saw, the camera was moved back about another 18 inches. I had moved it all back some because I was just super close in this photo and I could only see like one country. And the whole frame was filled with the globe being illuminated. So I wasn't getting the effect. And the effect that I was going for was, you know how you got the original Apollo astronauts that took the photo of the Earth floating in space from the moon? I was trying to generate that effect, but what I didn't have was I didn't have enough wide angle of a lens, and I didn't have the flash far enough away to illuminate half of the globe to have it falling off into darkness. I was getting there, but since I had waited so long to do my photo, I actually didn't get what I was really after. I'm probably going to revisit that with an actual snoot that fits over the flash module properly and see if I can actually generate that photo with that globe sitting on the table. You can see the lights are all on in the house and the background is blacked out. Go back to the photo. So what's the EXIF data say on the ISO and the shutter speed?
Oh, 1/60th of a second. F1.
Well, yeah, that's because I've got the manual lens on. It was 55 millimeter at f6 f16. I think I'm sitting. Let me look.
It's 50 millimeter, but close enough.
Yeah, I put a 50 mil in it, but as a for a non CPU lens. Yeah, it's sitting on f16, and an ambient light in the evening generates blackness. See, I just needed a little more illumination to illuminate half of the globe, and it would look like the photo of Earth in the shot from the moon, where it's sitting in the darkness of space. That was the effect I was after. All right, what's next?
Joy Adams at the Awful House.
Oh boy, I love the color. Let's see. Says she's got something for me. Joy Adams. She does not send descriptions. I recognize the other photo she sent though. That Waffle House, I like it. I like it a lot. I'm a sucker for those saturated colored night photos though. I really enjoy those. Appreciate all that, guys. The blue marble, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I really like this. I like that it isn't like she's got the white balance right. The windows inside the building are the right color for it. It isn't real yellow or real blue. It's perfect. I like this a lot. Well done, Joy. Is her other photo next?
Yeah, it's the most famous alley in Chattanooga.
Yeah, and it's actually in Collegedale.
Oh, is it? I
Collegedale
don't
or
know.
Ooltewah?
I think
Yeah.
I've seen you guys take pictures of this place before.
Yeah, Phil did his recent video about this alley, and or his stream last week was one of his photos was from this alley. I know his video the other day was about it. They were up there in that little park. I did a senior portrait shoot here. It's a really beautiful area. It's great for photos.
I've seen it multiple times and I've never been there. Let's put it that way.
You've seen it multiple times and never been to it physically. Come on, Phil. You've eaten at lots of restaurants. That don't count. Got my inspiration from Phil. Isn't that the alley at that what you call it? It's a little shopping center up in Collegedale, isn't it? James Kaysen. Yes, that's exactly what we're doing. We have a project that we work on, a challenge that we do every 2 weeks now. We do a live stream. On the opposite weeks, Phil Thatch, who is also in the comment section of this stream, holds a live stream on opposing weeks, and he also has a photo challenge. I'm gonna plug his challenge right now because you've brought this up. Cambridge Square, yeah, that's it. Thank you, Joy. But Phil's photo challenge is take a photo. You have a single subject, but with 2 focal lengths, so that you have, so you get more than one perspective. So you don't get. I think his point with this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Phil, is to break you out of the paradigm of thinking of what a composition looks like with just a single focal length. And it makes you look at the scene from multiple focal lengths. But yeah, that's what we're doing here. And you're more than welcome to submit images. The um, the email address is georgiaphotographer@gmail.com, georgiaphotographer@gmail.com. It'll be in the description in the video. And if you go to my channel, all of my videos have my email in it. So you can find those as well. You found the channel, you obviously enough. But yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. We welcome you. And we don't have like any particular camera brand that we're loyal to. Like most of us have multiple brands. So if you think you're going to get like what's the word, hazed because you shoot a certain particular brand of camera, that will not happen here. We are just photographers. That's it. We enjoy taking photos. So yeah. This week's theme is artificial light. Your photo had to involve artificial light. That's what we're doing this week. So, it doesn't matter what light source as long as it wasn't the sun. But that does include reflectors redirecting sunlight, because the sunlight then is not falling naturally. Oh no, here comes Joy. Phil dropped his email in the chat. And there's mine for my challenge. I've already got my picture for Phil's. I ran right out last Saturday and figured out what I wanted to do for his and took it. I may have just gave away what I'm doing. I'm trying to hold that back. Oh. Yeah. And also, just as a side note, if you can't get out in time to get a photo, but you do have one in your archive that you want to use that follows the rules, then because some people are still in quarantine or self-isolation order or whatever, and they can't get out to get photos, and they have to shoot in the house, or maybe they're they don't have access to flash. So you just, if you don't have, work with what you got. Like Ray Soldano used a lamp in his hallway, so it's just, that's what, we're just not going to be, we're not judgmental. That's our point here. Yeah. And we have a lot of fun. And it's interesting to see what people will come up with when you leave it as such an open-ended process as this. What's the next photo? Oh, wow. Wine glass. Who sent me the wine glass?
It's Heather Boyd.
Oh, yeah. I remember that now that you said it. I get this distinct suspicion that at some point in the not too distant future, she's going to be a professional photographer. You know how hard it is to photograph clear glass? It's very difficult to do that well. And she blew it out of the water. This is amazing work. Well done, Heather. The only thing is I can see the curtains. It's either the curtains or the softbox. Can't tell which. And it's hard to, that's the hardest part to solve. I think that's why when you see like the pros photograph clear glass, they have white painted flat walls with no like outlet boxes or nothing on them, because then you get pure white reflection. But this is incredible. to be just something as simple as a wine glass static in the photo. It's a beautiful photo. Well done. I'm really impressed with that. Especially, see, a lot of you do know her now, but some of the people that's new, they don't realize Heather hasn't been really doing like heavy hitter photography, but more than a couple of months at the most. She was shooting with a smartphone 2 months ago and taking really, really good photos with it. So, yeah, well done, kiddo. Was you using the one lens to rule them all? What's the lens? Does it say in the exit data she's using like an 18 to 400 Tamron or something?
Yeah, there's no EXO data on it.
Oh, she stripped it. All right, Heather, you got to own it. Is that the super lens? Yeah, she didn't send me no data with her note. She's got that all-purpose lens. I think it's the Tamron. It's the 18 to 400 on the D7100, and that thing. Oh, hey, Phil says she used the Z50. Did that 50 to 250, which even you have said that's a wonderful lens, haven't you, Aaron?
Yeah, I love that thing. Love it. Like that. Like the only photography I did in the last 2 weeks, I got a chance to go out and hit a private nature preserve, and I went and walked around it real quick during lunch. And that's all I used. I had the Z6 in the back pack, but I had the Z50 with the 50 to 250 around my neck. And
nice.
I was out doing some scouting real quick, but unfortunately there was no water, and we have received no water up here, so I'll have to wait for there's some water to fall from the sky before I go back down there.
Interesting. See, we've been getting heavy rains. It's finally gave us about a week of dry weather, and the farmers are in the fields night and day trying to get the harvest in. They're cutting hay and wheat right now, and they're harvesting as fast as they can because there's rain supposed to be here by the end of the week. Mike Mitchum said you should print that photo, and I tend to agree. I think it's print worthy too. James Kaysen is asking you, Heather, is 18 to 400. Can you elaborate a little bit on that lens? He's interested. It's in my video. Oh, it hasn't come out yet. Sorry. No. Heather is using it in a video I shot with her and Phil a little bit back, but our videos haven't dropped yet. I have so many videos queued up, I forget which ones have went live and which ones have not. I think that one comes out in another week or so. What's next, Phil or Aaron? Tamron 18 to 400. Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Phil. All right. I'm pretty sure this is Cuban Rum's photos, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Cuban Rum.
Yeah, he's got an outtake with okay, is that the one with the birthday cake and the cat, or just let's see.
No,
Okay.
That's his regular one, and then the next one's the outtake.
Okay. I like it. You see what his artificial light is? It's the birthday candle. Isn't that cool? I like that. It says, as usual, I'm sending in my photos at the last minute. They literally showed up at 15:05. Says, he's not able to be in the stream tonight, so he's not here tonight. He says, oh, this is him. He says it's his birthday, and he will be celebrating his birthday with his family. He said he used a lume cube on one side of his face, but the other side is lit by the candle, so both shots are straight out of camera JPEGs. The focus was done by camera eye detect autofocus. He said the outtake is of the cat jumping into the frame. All right. I had to answer a question right quick. James was asking about next week. Yeah, check out. Is that the one with the cat? Yeah. I think it's cute. I like that. Mm. Is that the last one? Dude, we got through them all pretty quick. Nice.
17 photos.
Yeah. Now, I got this question to ask. You guys, do y'all feel like 2 weeks is too long for one project, or do we want to do 2 projects in 2 weeks? That's a question I wanted to ask you guys, because it felt like I had, with Phil doing his streams on opposite weeks, you got 2 projects going at a time. You got, if you do his stream as well as mine, and I don't want to overwhelm it. You know, I like the low stress. If you go to my Instagram, you'll see I go by low stress photog, because I don't want it to be stressful. I don't want you to have to feel like you're putting yourself out to try and get a photo submitted in time for a stream. I would rather you enjoy it, do like Ray is, take your time, find something, build your shot like you want to, or like TV, and get out and get something interesting, and have time to do a little exploring and find something to photograph. If y'all haven't been over to the Georgia Photographer Gathering on Facebook and seen, I just got to point this out. TV put up a photo of a pigeon, and we don't have these pigeons out east. He lives in Texas, and it's the most colorful pigeon I have ever seen. It's beautiful. If you haven't seen it, you need to at least go over and join the gathering just so you can see that photo of that pigeon. It's really cool. But yeah, okay. James says, I'm down with 2, but I shoot a lot. One. Phil's is going on. Okay. 10. Blue Newt said 10.
I haven't even been able to get one done.
Well, you said there wasn't any water.
No, that wasn't it. I've just, the last couple weeks has just been like, I haven't really had any time for photography. It was, had to go save the world.
Yeah. See, I've been a little bit thin. I did that photo project last Saturday where we're documenting those books, and that took several hours for us to work through the book, because we had to get the focus, we had to get the book located, get the camera kind of as square to the page as possible, get the light set, and then I even set up. I really like this XT3. I just gotta admit it. Because I have a legit cable release, the kind that you push with your finger, and these cameras accept it. I used this cable release and took 700 photos with it the other night. So I could, because the camera was mounted about eye level, pointing straight down. So I had the display popped up so I could check focus occasionally on the book. But yeah, I did that, and then Sunday we went for a walk. I took a few photos. I take my camera pretty much everywhere I go now, so I can grab shots. But yeah, I've been kind of busy. This week's been kind of hectic. It really has. And last week was too. It was a little busier than normal. I think things are starting to slightly turn back on. It's picked up the pace. But next week's challenge, I've been thinking about it all day, because last week y'all caught me off guard. I hadn't honestly thought about it. I had 2 ideas last week, and I just grabbed one of them and threw it on the table. This week's is portraiture. I need you to take a portrait of somebody else, not you. Don't care who you photograph, as long as it's family friendly. Send us a portrait of somebody next week. Not street photography style. I mean legit portrait where you pose them. If you want to use artificial light, cool. If you want to use, I got my activity goal, my arm buzzer. If you want to use natural light, if you want to use reflectors, if you want to add, get help from other people and have a human light stand or whatever, it's wide open. The only specification is portrait. I'm curious to see what comes back, because all sorts of things can be classified as portraits. So I'm curious to see what comes of that. Look, Joy said, yes. Oh, James Cason is okay. James, Phil Thatch, who's in the chat, has his own YouTube channel, and he's a lot cooler than me. So when you go over to his channel, you'll see. And he has his own live stream that he's been doing. So we was doing them together, and during the COVID thing, I had Thursdays free, and we started doing them on Thursdays. And once that kind of faded out, I had to change my day to Tuesday. Well, Phil had done basically built a streaming rig, and he enjoyed streaming. So he's cranking up a stream on Thursdays at 6 p.m., weeks opposite of me. So his will go hot a week from Thursday at 6. And then the next week on Tuesday, I'll have one. Then the next week on Thursday, he'll have one. And that's what we've been kind of doing right now. And he might go to weekly streams, but I can't really handle weeklies anymore. I tried it for several weeks, and it's pretty stressful to do a weekly stream. It really is. I don't see how these people do daily streams. I just don't understand how they have the content. It's just hard to come up with something to do for dailies. That's it. That's I just don't understand how they do it. But yeah, that's what's going on. So if you look up Phil Thatch Photography on YouTube, you'll find his channel. And he lives in Chattanooga on the far northeast side. I live in Trenton, Georgia, which is kind of, you could almost classify it as a suburb of Chattanooga at this point, on the southwest side. So we're on opposite sides of the city from each other, basically separated by probably 30 miles. And we've both had YouTube channels for a couple of years. Actually, he's had his for several years. And we just kind of ran across each other. I think I might have stumbled over his one day by accident. Had no idea he was even in Chattanooga. And we linked up, and we've been doing some stuff together here and there ever since. And he has got his girlfriend into photography. That's Heather in the chat, and she's awesome. And her photography is on point, and he's going to have to watch out, or she's going to get better than him. Yeah, Phil gave me a new title. Let's see. I used it in a video opening. I still haven't edited the video yet. Let's see if I can even remember it. He tagged me with a title in one of his videos. Crap, I don't know if I can find it now. David, rock hopping Georgia photographer, vintage lens genius, Argus sailors. There's a story behind pretty much all of that. Oh, what time does your stream start next week, Phil? 6 p.m. I think is what he said. Confirm that in the chat. See here, there was something else. What was it? Something else significant in the camera world happened. What was it? Was it Canon? Canon released the roadmap for a huge amount of RF glass. There's a few Canon shooters in our midst. Yeah, 6 p.m. Yes. And if you look at the lens roadmap, it's pretty heavy hitter lenses. I don't know if some of them lenses are going to be expensive. I'm curious to see what else is coming out down the road for Nikon, because they don't have a macro lens in the Z mount yet. And I think they're going to do the 105 macro. If they are, I may get that one.
Yeah, the 60 and the 105 are on the roadmap.
Yeah, so they are. The 60 is too.
Yeah.
I may just get it, because I've got the 60 millimeter D lens, and I used it. Let's see here. Where did I take it? I put it on the D810 and took it up the eastern seaboard and used it heavily on that trip. It's a great general purpose lens, because it'll focus down to what, 9 inches or something silly like that, so you can shoot macro photos with it. Plus, it's great portrait lens. It just takes really good photos as a general purpose, documentary lens. It works really well for all of that.
Yeah. So here's what's on the roadmap for the RF mount. Yeah, 50 1.8 ST, 85 f2 macro IS STM, a 70 to 200 f4 IS SM, 100 to 500 f4.7. LIS USM. None of that makes sense.
Stop right there. That's one worth discussing. That's an L lens, but it's got at 400 millimeters, it's f7.1.
500 millimeters, 1 to 5.
So at 500 mil, it's 7.1. Is that what you said?
Yeah, 7.1. It may be 7.1 at 400 too. Don't know what the spread is on that.
But man, that's a tiny aperture for the biggest aperture it can be for an L lens. That's got to be for some kind of very specific, like maybe they're about to do a crop sensor version of those cameras.
They're all RF, so they got a 600 in here. Hold on a minute.
Yeah, those are like f11 lenses.
Yeah, they got a 600 f11 DO IS STM, 800 f11 DOS STM.
Yeah, the DO stood for, what was it? Does anybody know what the DO stands for? Let's see if I remember. Because where I was reading about it, they said what it means. It's like a reflex lens. It may be similar to the phase Fresnel, but I think it's more of a mirror lens, like duplex optic or something like that. But I think it's a small compact, like it's going to be made into the mirror lens configuration. Is why they're f11 lenses.
They got 2 teleconverters.
That's going to be nice.
Well, here's some good news. If nobody's read the news, Tamron did confirm.
Yeah, and what was it the other day they announced that Fuji released the mount for third-party lens development? I believe Fujifilm released the X mount to third-party developers so that they can develop lenses for autofocus drive and things with them.
Now, see, that's what Nikon should do. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, Nikon's having a heck of a time, getting their new lenses out. Like that.
Yeah.
What is it that 24 to 200? I'm thinking about that one.
I'll be honest with you, for a general purpose lens, that's a good range.
Well, I mean okay. So the only thing I don't like is the variable aperture, but I mean, you carry 24 to 70, and you carry a 70 to 200 with you, and I'm like, go ahead. I'll go for that.
I mean, really, if you was shooting street photography, it covers everything from close wide angle to shooting all the way across the street and getting something, because if I was shooting street, that's a lens to have. It really is. I mean, you're not worried about blowing out the background for shooting street photography, or maybe even intermediate range wildlife stuff where you can kind of get close to animals like Cage Cove. It would be a pretty decent lens for that. Or maybe events.
I don't think it's not fast enough, because that's an f4 to 6 point. You events, but not like something.
Yeah, you wouldn't. Yeah, that's true. 6.3, you'd be running ISO at 3 zillion to get reasonable exposures.
Yeah, I
Bass
run into
Angler
that with the Z50 a lot with the get lenses ISO up a little bit, because
they're just
not fast enough.
Yeah. Bass Angler says that means dual Otis, Dave. That's what DO means. He's joking about the Zeiss Otis lenses. James Carson says that he wonders what will happen to the EF mount. nothing will happen to it for a while. I think you'll see brand new manufactured EF lenses for probably another 10 years easily. Easily, maybe even longer. Plus, third parties will continue to make lenses for them probably another 20 years easily because there's so many of those cameras in circulation. Plus, they're still making new ones. You know, they're every bit of Canon's DSLR lineup is EF mount, just like Nikon's F mount. All their DSLRs are F mount. They're still making new lenses for those new cameras, and they'll support that for it'll probably take them a decade to transition fully to the mirrorless platforms with the new mounts and start fading out. But if you look, you can still buy AIS lenses that are newly manufactured for the F mount. That's 1980s and 1970s technology lenses. They're still making new ones. I don't know why, but they're doing it. You can still get the AF lenses, the old screw drive. They still make them new.
They're making
The,
AIS lenses new.
yeah, you know. So I foresee the F mount and the EF mount Canon mounts to be viable options for at least another 20 or 30 years easily. You know, yeah, I don't see that being a problem at all. I mean, in any way, use them. Use them. You can get Canon cameras. Plus, you can get the EF to R mount adapter and use them on the new mirrorless cameras, and they work fine. So I think you can even put Canon lenses on the Z. Yeah, on the Nikon Z cameras, can't you? Don't they mount up?
Nikon Z.
Hmm.
Put anything on Nikon Z.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that you can put a Canon lens, an EF mount lens on the Z camera. I'm pretty certain.
Yeah, Canon's their focusing protocol that they use autofocus a lot easier to adapt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know why Nikon won't release the technology of their focus system to third parties. You know, because people still make the lenses, but it just it leaves a bad taste in their mouth when they buy Tamron lenses and they don't focus as fast as Nikkor glass. They want the third party glass, and I think Nikon has made a big mistake with that. Personal opinion, just personal opinion. But I think Nikon made a big mistake with that when they didn't release their mount to third party manufacturers for development, because that just pushes the industry better. I mean, look how much glass is available for the Canon mount that really isn't there for the Nikon mount.
How much glass is available for Sony now?
Yeah.
I look at like what I could do with a Sony camera. Like, there's more lens options for Sony right now than any.
No kidding. I mean, you can get Zeiss lenses that go on a Sony camera. I had one. Beautiful lens. Now, that was smart of Sony to release their mount early like they did, because that allowed people to start developing a long time ago. So, the whole mount has matured, not with just Sony, but with all the lens manufacturers in third party world as well. So they've got some very, very nice glass. Was it Sigma's making lenses that are direct mount for Sony's that work really well?
Like months ago or last year. So.
Yeah.
I don't know though if Tamron did that, Sigma.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they would. Yeah. If Tamron started making Z lenses, Sigma will do it. So will Tokina. I think they would immediately.
I don't know about Tokina. Tokina, lately, all they've been doing is Tokina has been doing is just kind of redoing their bodies for their cameras. They've really been doing a whole bunch for it. Body for it. The optical stayed the same.
Yeah. Well, that's terrible. All right.
You lose.
I I forgot some equipment that I normally bring down with me, but it's okay.
Obviously, it wasn't for the stream.
Yeah, it's something else, and I normally store it right here by the door, and it's not there, so that means I left it at home. Yeah, I made a mistake. It ain't a big deal. It's not a problem. I just happened to realize it. I don't have a very good poker face. Blue Newt says she got sucked into Sean Tucker's black and white film project, home film development and digitized negatives with a DSLR. Woo! Ordered an adapter to fit old Nikon AI and AIS lenses onto the Canon AE1 FD mount. Wow. That's incredible. Now, I have been looking at digitizing film with a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, and Nikon literally just released that film digitizing adapter that goes on a macro lens. It's just a little body or a lens cap, basically. It snaps on it that holds a frame that holds a strip of negatives, and you slide them through it, point it towards a neutral white space on the wall that you've lit, and it gives you really well done negatives. It was really impressive how well it worked. I think even the Fro Man done a video about it, but I saw a couple different people reviewed it. Nice piece of kit, but you can also do it with you can lay them on a iPad is what people have been using. They'll put them on an iPad and turn on like a white square on the iPad, and then they'll lay a piece of glass over it and then shoot straight down with the camera straight against it, so you don't have any glare. I've seen that.
We used to do
It's
like
supposedly. Go ahead.
yeah, we used to do like younger. So when we do film photos to like we put them in video, so if and you had a bunch of slides or photos. We had a big light table, big metal table with a piece of Lexan on it and a fluorescent. What we did, and then we had like a rig sitting top it with
Yeah.
go straight, look straight down, and you just report it into the video.
Interesting.
But you probably take a computer monitor would probably work really good for that now. Color balance of it a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm.
Take a
like I was saying that I've seen several people figuring out ways of digitizing slide or negatives, and one of the most common ways is they use an iPad set for a white screen. It just does a white square, and they even make a little box that sets down on it to get the focus distance for the smartphone. They use a smartphone to do it. Some of them to take photos. It's kind of neat how they're doing it. With a small light box. Yeah. That's it. Blue News got it. Joy says Aaron's audio keeps cutting in and out. I don't know if it's because of the audio or if it's because of the internet connection. Not real sure.
It's the software. I'm watching it here. It'll cut out. I can't fix it without killing the stream. So we'll just deal with it tonight.
James is gone. He said the wife rang the dinner bell. Be right back. Oh, he said, he's going to go get something to eat and come back. I had something. I have been running. I try to run. Okay, here's you a little challenge. This will be a side quest. If you ever played Dungeons and Dragons as a teenager like I did, you had your main quest in the campaign, then you had these little side quests that they would stir in along the way to like make it a little more interesting, And so the side quest that I normally try to do about every week is I pick a lens and I stick it on the camera and I shoot with just that lens all week long. I put this 55 mil on last Friday, and it's been on the camera ever since.
Where'd you get that idea from?
I don't remember. Was it you?
Probably, because I was talking about doing that this year.
That probably is why I probably remembered it subliminally from when we was out together.
Yeah, I was talking about doing that, just like rocking like for like a month at a time, just like camera.
Mm-hmm. I stuck the 85 millimeter S lens on the Nikon Z6 and I shot with it. Was it last Saturday afternoon? No, I guess it was weekend before that. Yeah, man, time's going by fast this month for some reason. But yeah, I've been doing it. I've been doing it for a while. I can't remember when I started doing it. It's probably right after we had our meetup. But yeah, I've been doing it and I really enjoy it because you start to really think in one focal length, especially when you're using primes. You start like experimenting with what the lens can do, you know.
Start using your feet a lot more too.
Hmm?
Start using your feet a lot more too.
Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, in the camera bag is, I finally took out that broke ND filter. Yeah, one of my 5-stop NDs split down the middle. And I don't think it got broke when you dropped your camera that day. I think it popped it apart, but I put it back together when I got home. Remember? All it done was pop the lens out of it.
Yeah, I don't
It didn't.
remember. Yeah,
Yeah, and I when I got home, I actually think I might have made a
think you
video
did do
about
a
that.
video of it.
Yeah, because all it was two little threaded together rings that sandwiched that glass between them. It was very simple how they put it together. But yeah, I got it out of the bag the other day. I think somebody stepped on it because
See?
yeah, it was in the living room floor next to the couch, but I thought it was out of the way. I think somebody might have stepped on it because it
Can't
was
be any
split
worse.
right
Like
down the middle.
one of my 82 millimeter NDs. 'Cause I always like have I always like put my like lens caps and filters like in my back pocket. So I put the
Mm-hmm.
case in my back pocket and I forgot about it. I jumped in the truck and sat on it and broke it.
Oh, I hate it, especially when you feel it go crunch.
Yeah, it was. Oh, there goes that ND filter.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing if it makes a difference. It don't.
You don't have
Light
to. You
angle
don't
is
have to
wrong.
rotate the lens. You don't have to rotate the ring. Just rotate the whole thing.
Yeah. It's not really making a change, is it?
No, I don't think it's gonna work too much.
Because the angle of the light ain't
It makes you
what.
look 10 years younger though when you threw it.
Remember this one?
What one? Oh, that's the one I ran on the 45, wasn't it?
Yeah, this is one of the
Oh
ones
no,
we got
yeah,
up
that's one
there
of the
in
ones we bought at
Morristown.
Morristown. Yeah, because I got one just like it.
Yeah. $25. What a score. Beautiful circular polarizer. Huge.
I don't know.
77 millimeter.
There's test shots I did with the with this K&F variable NDs with the variable ND and the CPL built into it. I kind of liked it.
Yeah, Aaron, he shoots a lot of landscape stuff, so he's constantly on the hunt for a lighter rig than what he's got now. He's even got Nissy filters, the big square plates with the holder and all that, and they're really nice, by the way. If you've never used plate filters, those things are really nice. But these are smaller and lighter and easier to deploy a lot of times. So tell them what you've found. Then it's interesting.
Yeah, well, I've just kind of like I've always been on the hunt, and I've been like since our last fall when I went through that whole kerbuckle of like forgetting filters and breaking filters, and it was our fall photography was kind of like a MacGyver episode in photography, if you will. It's just like borrowing and stealing out of bags and trying to make adapters work, and it did it though. I mean, I wound up using my 45 millimeter 1.8 and worked out well, and I kind of like it gave me an appreciation of shooting with a prime lens again a little bit more often, and that's kind of what kickstarted the whole thing. It was like, well, let me go back smaller, and we climbed up a mountain. I had all this gear in the back, and I'm in my back, my knees aren't all that great anymore. I'm like, I need to get smaller. I need to think lighter. and that's what I've been doing. So I got these K&F makes them. They're an ND filter. It's got it's like a 2 to 5 ND on it, and then it's got a CPL built into it. It's just one and they're not expensive. And I'm like, God, heck, I'll try them out. Because the last K&F filter I ordered while I had it like Amazon to my house down in while we were there, and I tried it out. It wasn't so good. You get that like when you start getting, you want to get into the like, it was 82 millimeters, and you start shooting at with one of those adjustable CPLs at 24 millimeters, you start seeing that big X in the middle. Not good.
Right.
Makes it really hard. You wind up with little black splotches all over your long exposure. So I'm like, okay, this is out. This is okay for some stuff, but I didn't really like it. And then sometimes I'd get some weird blue color cast to it too, as I haven't figured it out. So got the K&Fs. They're 2 to 5. CPL, I still haven't tested too much on the CPL. Then I also ordered the regular 6 filter for it. So if I can't get it within the 2.5 or the 2 to 5 range, I can pop the 6 on, and that gives me 8 to 11.
Yeah, I'm about to say that. Yeah, you got 11 stops. That's dark.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, you get out doing some stuff in the middle of the day. 11 stops isn't really that far fetched for doing something at mid daylight.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we were using 10 stops in the early morning light to get some of those river scenes.
Yeah.
I was using 10 stops.
I just feel like Jared pulling.
I think he's bought something from Alan's camera.
Did he switch to Sony?
Oh no. It ain't that. No, Jared Polin likes to use Alan's camera for his camera stuff because it's up there close to Philadelphia somewhere. And
gotcha.
It's his like hometown camera store. So he ordered something from Alan's camera. So he's joking. He feels like Jared.
Did he smell it? Did he give it the sniff test?
He ain't got it yet. He just placed his order. Mike Mitchum says, "She who must be obeyed says it's time to eat. Gotta go. Have fun."
Wow, everybody's giving life aggro tonight.
Blue Newt says, "Do those square filters fit different brands of cameras?"
Yeah, no.
That's you, Aaron.
Well, so okay, the square filters will. It depends on the filter and the filter holder. The filter holder is really important, but they mount to the lens. It has nothing to do with the camera. Now changing your different filters, different company, the thickness of the filter may play in part of what you want to get a filter from a different company. It might not fit into your filter holder because the thickness. And then you don't want it falling out of your holder.
Oh yeah, because yours had like tracks, so you could put like how many? 3 or 4 in it?
It'll do 3. Yeah,
3.
It'll do 3.
Yeah, he had it, and the plates are a certain thickness, so it has little channels for each plate. So if he wants to put in like I guess you could put in a full ND to darken the whole scene, and then a graduated ND to like darken the sky a little more, to balance the sky. And
those graduated NDs are like 100 by like 150, 100 by 200, so you can get that kind of adjustment up and down on it.
Oh, Phil ordered the 55 to 200 Fuji. Wow. So what's that? That's like a 75 to 300 millimeter zoom equivalent focal or equivalent field of view. Man, that's long. Yeah. With square plate filters, Blue Newt's asking about the filters. With square plates, you buy just the raw plates. They don't have like a frame, like the screw-on filters have a little round frame with threads on the plate glass. With squares, it's just a plate of glass, and it'll have the ND applied to it, whether it's just a darkening layer that darkens the image and removes light, or it has a graduated amount of darkness from darkness to a line in the middle. Like a lot of landscape photographers will run one that darkens just the upper half of the frame for the sky. And then there's and then there's various degrees of that graduation range in the middle as to how fast it fades from no darkness to darkness and how wide it takes up. You got some that's got a hard line there, and then some of them it fades in like what this percentages, isn't it, Aaron? Isn't that how they rate that?
They rate them all sorts of different ways. They rate them by stops. They rate them by like some scale. I like me trying to figure out like some of the how they rate some of those ND filters is like I just give up. Because tell me how many stops of light it stops. Good for me.
Yeah. Excuse me. But I'm still using screw-on filters. I don't have a plate system yet. But you know what was bizarre? Where was it? It was Instagram. I posted a filtered photo somewhere on Instagram right after me and Aaron had met up, and we had talked about his Nissy filters. And Nissy started following me on Instagram.
Oh, cool.
I seen it. Yeah. I don't know if
Nissy followed you, and I'm the one with the Nissy filters. Awesome.
Right. Is that no, what's the irony in that? Oh. Phil didn't tell you right, Joy. You need a 35 f1.0. If you can't find a 0.95 f-stop lens, don't even bother. Let's see what he says.
Joey, what lens?
No,
what camera do you want to do that on?
Oh, I'm just messing with Phil at this point. Joy is asking best lens for portraits. And
I knew she's got the D500. I can't remember if she's got something else.
Yeah, the 51.8 is a great portrait lens for the D500 because the focal length works out to about 75 mil.
Yep.
Yeah, that'll look good on D500. Which I have figured out that you can take portraits with a 24 millimeter. Framing is crucial. It's critical. But you can take interesting portraits with a 24 millimeter if you're careful with it. I've played with. Shoot, I took that boy's portrait in Morristown with a 20 millimeter that day.
Yeah, you did.
And it actually turned out pretty cool. But yeah,
the 7500. So you're in the crop sensor. Oh, and the Z50.
Yeah. So
everything's
both of them will work good. Yeah. If you don't have any Z glass yet, which she's probably got the small kit lens, was it 18 to 55? Just use it, rack it out to 55 millimeters. It'll take a beautiful portrait.
If you get like that Z, I'm surprised you get the 35 f1.8 DX.
Oh, and she has a D500 too. That's why she said Nikon rules earlier. She's all in.
Yeah, I'd say like two lenses that you should pick up for your Nikons is the 35 1.8 DX and then a 51.
Yeah. The 51.8 is a steal, and the 35 is too. I had the 35 when I had my D7000, and it was an amazing little prime lens. It don't weigh anything, and it's sharp as a razor, and the bokeh is gorgeous out of it. Beautiful little lens.
Yeah, that 35 is the nifty 50 for on DXs.
Yeah. And it was super cheap, brand new. It wasn't but like $150 or something. It was nothing.
Yeah, you know what? If you look right, you can pick them up for like $80-$90 used.
Yeah, you should shop around on Fleabay for that because it is. Yeah. Blue Newt's got one. It's an incredible little lens for a DX format camera. If I was to get a Z50 and I was going to shoot with it much, especially if I was shooting street, I'd probably have that lens. Are you back?
Microphone works.
Joyce, Joy's got a 35. She got it at the pawn shop. That's where you find lenses cheap. She does have it, yeah. Seems like lots of people have the 35 mil. Nice. Okay. All right. Well, Teresa is beckoning. So, and we've ran nearly 2 hours. That went quick, didn't it? Aaron?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay. That was a quick 2 hours. Wow. It was surprising how well that went.
I thought that was a statement, not a question.
Oh.
Been a rough
Well,
day, man.
I'm going to circle back through and just reiterate. Phil's theme is 2 photos of the same subject at different focal lengths. That's due next Thursday at 6. My stream will be 2 weeks from today, unless it's a holiday. I don't think that's a holiday, but I'll look on the calendar and confirm it. I'm pretty sure it's a normal day. If it's July the 4th or something, we may not stream. Let me just look at that right quick. Let's see here. Come on, map. Nope, June 30th. So we're good to go. Yeah, June 30th. And the subject is portraiture. Okay, there's some rules about the file names and stuff. Okay, if you haven't been to the stream yet, this is good data that you need. I'll be done in just a couple minutes. Teresa's wanting to go eat. But the specs for the files, I would like for you to rename your files with your name. That makes it easier for me and Aaron. That way, because see, if I could show you what I see on the stream, I see a screen this big. So I see a little tiny thumbnail of what we're actually seeing on the stream. And that's why I ask Aaron, what's the name on the file? Because I can't read it because it's a thumbnail. So then I go over to the email and read the description. So a lot of people will send me background about the photo, and it makes the photo a lot more interesting if you know the background. So I like to read those with them. And so if you would name your file after your name, that'd be a big help. Another thing is if you could scale your image down. What was the size we was doing? 2048 on the long side?
Yeah, 2048 by the long edge.
Yeah. So just find, like, I use GIMP for my Photoshop-esque stuff. And in there, they've got a button that just says scale image. You click it, it gives you the width by the height. You just poke in 2048 on the longest side. It'll automatically math out whatever the shorter side is, and you just hit scale and it'll shrink it. And that saves bandwidth because a regular 1080 HD display is only 1920 wide. So even at 2048, it's shrinking it some just to put it on a 1080 HD display. The only place it would ever even notice would be 4K displays. And once it upreses, you probably ain't going to notice it.
Hold on a minute. What don't you know how to do, Joey? Joey's,
Oh, to how scale down an image? That will literally be next Wednesday's video then. Because that's something that people need to know how to do.
I can do that.
I'll make that part of, that'll be like the first little tidbit of next Wednesday's video. I'll reschedule whatever's on it and I'll put that out. That's tomorrow. That'll be Saturday's video.
Maybe I'll fire up and do a tutorial on it real quick.
Yeah. But it depends on what you edit with as to how you scale down your images. If you can't scale your images, that's okay. It's just it takes us longer to download and re-upload them because I download them here and put them in Dropbox, and then he downloads them from Dropbox and loads them into Lightroom. So, you know, it's a couple of paths around to get to Aaron from me. And it's just if you scale them down a little bit, it makes them download faster. That's all. I mean, it works okay if they're full res. It's just that you can't see it on the screen. The screens are only 2 megapixel. So it's kind of pointless. People don't realize a 1080 HD display is 2 megapixel. I've done preached about that in the past. But yeah, those are the only two things: is file name with your name in it, and down res it if you can. If you can't, you won't see me complaining. It just helps. All right. Lightroom does it. Yeah. Phil probably knows how to do it in Lightroom. I don't use Adobe products anymore. I dropped them about a year ago. And so I honestly don't know how to use them. I recognize it, but I don't know how to do stuff like that anymore. You know, I know where the clarity slider is. But all right. I appreciate you guys tagging along. I really do. It's been a great night. 2 hours flew by in no time. We had a great time. So until next time, get your camera out and make a portrait with it. And we'll see y'all next week. All right. Bye bye, y'all.